This episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Outdoor Pro Shop, LLC. Outdoor Pro Shop is a family-owned and operated firearms dealer and sporting goods retailer. They have pay-over-time options, a rewards program, and customer service satisfaction that is unmatched. They might not be the biggest, but they strive to be the best. Contact them today at 240-360-1298 or visit them on the web at www.outdoor-pro-shop.com. That's Outdoor Pro Shop, 240-360-1298.
Folks, welcome to another episode of On the Limb Podcast with Nature's Voice Game Calls, where deer camp becomes a reality for every listener. Join us as we talk God, family, country, and everything outdoors. Kick back, relax, and have a listen. Now, here's your host and co-host, Mike and Dan.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back on the Limb Podcast. Got Dan coming in from Missouri. He's back out there working. How you doing, Dan?
I'm still working.
I was going to say, is he there or is he?
Yeah, this time change sucks for getting linked up. That's kind of what happened last week. You know, I didn't get to make it because I was still out in the field and we was busy.
Well, you know, this has been a crazy month. Some things going on. Had to rearrange some times, different things like that. Dad's in the hospital, so if you're a praying man out there, we appreciate the prayers, the thoughts and the prayers. We're going to try to get him out of the hospital as fast as we can. You know, we definitely don't want nobody in there too long, because if you stay in there too long, it seems like you just become a member.
Right? Yeah.
So, but yeah, so starting off today, I'm gonna go ahead and do a scripture. We haven't done a scripture in a while since Dave's been gone. So I figured we'd just go to, since we've had a crazy month, we'll go with Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. So, you know, it doesn't matter what you're going through. That's one of those things I was telling Dan there in the live today. It really doesn't matter who it is or what you're going through. God can take care of it if you just talk to him. You know, he wants that relationship with you, and, people are going through all kinds of things. You know, many people carry heavy loads, you know, whether it be physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever. People go through different levels of those too. So, it may affect you and it's really something small, or it may affect you not very much and it's really something big, but you can still tell. So, keep everybody in your prayers out there, and we sure appreciate everyone.
Yeah, for sure. That was a good one there, Mike. Guys, don't forget to head over to Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast for all past and present episodes. Also, don't forget to use Podcast 10 at checkout with outdoor-pro-shop.com for 10% off your order at checkout.
I used an old template, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, I know. I was trying to think what the other one is.
It's the Aquacase.
Aquacase.net.
Yeah, aquacase.net.
Yeah, don't forget that too.
And it's podcast 15 as well, or is it podcast?
15.
Yeah, 15. Yep. I thought they did 15. Yep. So go check
15.
them guys out. All right, so Canyon Clark, we met him just through social media, and we got to talking and thought, they have a podcast as well, so we kind of might do a swap out, have him on. He may have us on, something like that. So without further ado, please welcome with me Canyon Clark with Ridge Hunter Outdoors. Canyon, how you doing, sir?
Not too bad. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing good.
Well, thanks.
Good. Hey, do you mind? You just shared a little bit of scripture there. Do you mind if I share some? I got a little backstory with it before we get rolling here.
No, go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'll kind of set this up a little bit. It was sometime last week. My wife was on the phone with a gal, and they were both on speakerphone, and I was in the bathroom getting ready. And I mean, they were loud. Like, it wasn't a quiet conversation. They weren't mad at each other or anything. They were just, it was a louder conversation. So I said, hey, you should look up this proverb. It's 27:14. It says, a loud and cheerful greeting early in the morning will be taken as a curse. she did not like that at all. She thought I was getting on being loud too early in the morning. I said, hey, take that up with the Bible, because it's right there out of the scripture. Proverbs are pretty straightforward. forward. So that's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Take that up with Jesus.
That's right.
So y'all remember that deer camp this fall too, by the way.
What's that?
I said, y'all remember that in deer camp this fall. Don't be hollering at each other. Wake them up now.
Oh yeah, that goes on all the time, especially with me.
Yeah, see, I normally just throw things at people.
That's not loud or cheerful. So I guess you're in good shape.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Sounds like it.
All right, so
That's great.
Canyon, just to start off things, tell our listeners about your background in the hunting world.
For sure. So I kind of come by it naturally, I suppose. When I was a kid, my dad and my grandpa had a bow shop. They actually started it in the late 80s. They were one of the first archery shops in Illinois. At one time, they were the biggest bow tech dealer in the state of Illinois. And this was like the early 2000s. And they still had it for a little while I was young. So I remember, hanging out at the archery shop and all the guys in the loafing room. Of course, back at that time, smoking cigarettes and in the loafing room and all that kind of stuff. It was a little different atmosphere. But just being around.
Watching Captain Kangaroo?
Probably. Just being around. Actually, tons of old VHS tapes like the Drury's old tapes and Roger Raglan and Dan Fitzgerald, like those kind of things. That was playing a lot because they actually used to rent those VHS tapes out of the shop. It was a lot of that kind of stuff. But I grew up around it on that side of it, just being around all those guys. And like I said, my dad was doing it. And of course, he had an archery shop, so he was a bow hunter. And then on another side of that, to this day, he still has a deer processing shop that I help out at. And I mean, he's been doing that all my life. My great grandpa started that. My grandpa and my dad were doing, the whole gamut, beef, hogs, deer at one time. Regulations kind of got tighter on all that stuff. So they ended up just doing deer, and that's kind of what we do now. But long story short, I've been around it, whether I wanted to be or not, right? From the archery shop side, even if they got rid of that, still being up here during deer season at the shop and working and being around all the deer hunters and everything. And I always just loved it. Like when I was a kid, there were 3 things I really wanted to do. One of them was bull riding. And I think my mom's probably glad I gave up on that one before I really got started. The other one was playing baseball, and I wasn't talented enough to do that. And the third one was I wanted to have a hunting show on TV. Well, we ain't quite made it there yet, but we got a digital hunting show. So I guess we're kind of maybe working our way towards that. We'll probably never do TV, but moral of the story, I got to do one of the things that I always wanted to do growing up, but I kind of always wanted to do that just because that's what I was around, growing up. My dad took me out hunting on top of being in the shop and everything. He got me into bow hunting, easy access to my first bow and everything. So he got me into that. I had an uncle who was kind of a late start archery, really hunting in general. I think he started hunting in his 20s, but he was really helpful getting me out in the woods when Dad was too busy at the shop. Did a lot of deer hunting with him and got to shoot my first deer with him in Missouri. And then, we'd always go squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, waterfowl hunting, you name it. Me and him were out kind of doing something outdoor related. Just always loved being outside in the outdoors. It's been a passion of mine, like I said, for as long as I can remember. So that's kind of a long way around my backstory in the outdoor world.
Right. So you said he was raised in it. So I'm assuming like your dad, like you said, he owned the shop. He got to take you out from an early age.
Oh yeah. I can remember too. Even when he was working at the shop, like when I was 8, 9 years old, behind my grandpa's house, they owned 60 something acres, almost 70 acres. And it was mostly CRP with some fence rows and a big ditch running through the middle of it with trees on it. And some of the best hunting ground I've ever got to hunt. But Dad would take me out there and he'd drop me off and say, hey, go sit over here. And that's what I would do. I'd get off of school if it wasn't during basketball season yet or something like that, or even at this time, it was before I was even playing basketball in school. He just dropped me off and kicked me loose out there with my bow. And then he'd come pick me up at dark there at my grandpa's house behind what used to be the slaughterhouse of that shop when they were doing beef and hogs. But man, I planted a lot of arrows out there shooting at pretty much everything that moved.
Now, did you guys like as you was growing up? Did you guys do like a deer camp?
So that's one thing that really, with being up here working all the time during season, I kind of missed out on growing up. Was there was never, because you don't really, for us, we're hunting a lot of private ground that's close to the house, so there's no real camp for archery season. Most of the camp stuff goes on around where we're at during firearm season. Well, at the processing shop, I mean, that's the busiest time of year. In Illinois, the season is, and pretty much for as long as I can remember, has been 3 days right in the middle of October or November. And then it's like a Thursday through Saturday, the week after Thanksgiving. Yeah. So it's like the weekend before Thanksgiving, you get a break there, the Thanksgiving week to bow hunt again. And then that following weekend is gun season again. So it's super slammed at the shop. So I never really got into any kind of deer camp scenarios. Never even really done a lot of firearm hunting. I thought I wanted to go a lot when I was a kid, and when I got old enough to take myself and go do it, I did it a few times, and there's a lot of pressure around where we're at, so it was never like real successful at or anything. I killed a few deer. No, I don't know that I ever killed a buck with a gun in Illinois. But anyway, because of that, I never really got in on a lot of the deer camp stuff. That's one thing that some of the other guys that do the podcast with us, Nate, Blake, they all speak, pretty fondly of those memories growing up as a kid.
Sure.
Because I mean, that's the event around here is shotgun weekend. Everybody and their brothers out there shotgun hunting, whether they're really into the outdoors and hunting or not. All these guys are out there during gun season.
Yeah, I got to experience one. I guess 2 years ago now, over in Vandalia, Illinois. Which, I thought that was a weird way to do it because we're used to a straight 2 weeks. Gun season, basically. Then there's like, oh yeah, come down this weekend, then you can come back like 2 weekends later. I'm like, dude, what?
Exactly.
Like 3 days here and 4 days there and stuff like that. I'm like, man, that's crazy how it splits up like that.
Well, that's Illinois for you. They do their turkey season goofy too, but we get basically 7 days of gun hunting, and then some counties will have, you can do like late winter. There's some black powder stuff. Or some counties will have an antlerless only in late season. Sure. But it's basically 7 days, like you said, broke up. I've actually did some podcasts and episodes about that. And I think it would be beneficial for us as a state and for our deer herd even to just go to like a 10-day straight gun season, move it. Because right now it falls basically peak breeding. So right when these bucks should be locked down with does and breeding, they're dodging bullets most years. Yeah. So we actually end up seeing a lot of late born fawns and really young fawns. And I don't think the recruitment of the fawns is all that good. I think a lot of them die the following winter because they're just not quite big enough yet, because a lot of the breeding that's supposed to be taking place when it needs to happen gets pushed off to the firearm season. So I really think, if we would move it to a 10-day straight and even just go like 1st of December, like the first Friday through the following Sunday or something, and give guys a lot more opportunity to hunt. Like you being out of state coming up, you could plan to be here for the week instead of, okay, I'm gonna come up on the weekend, and if I don't kill anything, maybe I can come back in 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So the shotgun season, like you're saying, is kind of like our rifle season here. It's like the big, thing during deer season. I guess.
And I don't mean to cut you off. I say shotgun season. They actually changed it.
I was getting ready to ask that.
You can shoot certain cartridges of rimfire rifles now as well. So like basically all my life it was just shotgun, and then they had a black powder later in the year. And then it got to where you could use pretty much anything during the firearm season except rifles, and now they finally got to rimfire rifles too. I'd say it'll be a matter of time to have centerfire also, but yeah, right now you do have some rifles too. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I thought they passed it for smoothbore rifles as well. Like
I'm not
450 Bushmaster and.
Oh yeah. You can definitely use a 450. A lot of guys are shooting 350 Legends, 450s. Those are both pretty popular now that they've passed all that stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that was supposed to be passed like the season after I hunted. I haven't got to go back. But talking to my buddy there actually the other day, and he was telling me how much they have improved and changed the ground, and they've got new feed plots out and everything. He's like, you'll have to come back up and do a camp. I'm like, yep, sounds good. I'm in. Maybe this year.
There you go.
Canyon, we're going to take a break real quick here, a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Yep.
This episode of On the Limb podcast with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Douglas Barrels, located at 2504 Big Tyler Road, Charleston, West Virginia, 25313. Douglas Barrels has been handcrafting ultra rifle barrels for over 70 years. Their expertise is impressive and unmatched. If you want barrels made by meticulous craftsmen who take pride in their work and do not take shortcuts in production, give Douglas Barrels a call at 304-776-1431 or visit them on the web at douglasbarrels.net. Get your ultra rifle barrel today from Douglas Barrels, 304-776-1431. All right, guys, we're back with Canyon Clark. He's with Ridge Hunter Outdoors. And Canyon, let's get into talking about your all's podcast here. You guys have one. You just talk. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. I wasn't even thinking.
Hold your horses there, Michael Booth.
Sorry, buddy.
Before we jump into that, we're going to do our salute to valor. So tonight, our salute to valor is going to go out to John C. Wolf. He was a corporal in the United States Marine Corps. He was assigned to the 3rd Battalion, 26th Marines. He was awarded a Purple Heart, Republic of Vietnam Medal, Combat Action, Presidential Unit Citation, and a Good Conduct Medal. He was served in Vietnam for 1968 to 1970. He was in South Vietnam near the DMZ, and one of his major operations he was part of was a Khe Sanh operation. His MOS, for those that don't know what 8541 was, he was a Marine Scout Sniper. So knowing what those guys went through in Vietnam, he saw plenty of action.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we thank him for his service, and we appreciate you, John.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Cook. God bless you, sir.
Wolf.
Oh, Wolf, sorry. Well, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking of Cook because I had that one tagged in the Salute to Valor page there in our chat. And I thought, yeah, I think we've already done that one. That's why I was thinking of Cook.
Right.
All right.
Now you can get back to what you was going to ask him.
Anyways, so can we get back to that now?
Yeah.
All right. So you guys have a podcast as well. We talked about, you mentioned some of your guys there earlier. They're familiar with the deer camp kind of thing. Tell us about how you guys got together. Have you all always hunted together, and how did the podcast come about?
So on the podcast side of it, I started doing some deer scent because, like I said, Dad's got the deer shop. We had a lot of stuff we were just throwing out because nobody's using it. So I started making a tarsal gland scent back in 2018. So I was in college at the time, and it did pretty well. And I did it under the name Ridge Hunter Scents. So I did that for a while, and I was still doing it when I graduated school in 2019. And then I actually went to school for sports business. So in 2020, I took a job for the St. Louis Blues. We were fixing to move to St. Peters, Missouri, which is right outside of St. Louis. And I was going to go do that. Well, my orientation day at the Blues was in March of 2020. We all know what happened then. So literally 3 days after that, the world shut down for the COVID.
Yeah.
So that kind of, like I sat around and waited a couple months to hear from that. Obviously, 2 weeks turned into 2 years. In July of 2020, I started off. I thought, I could do something with Ridge Hunter things. So I started offering consultations and management works, food plots and whatnot, and some property consultations. Because I know one of the guys that helped us out in the first season of our show and everything, and was on the podcast for a while. He's got a lot of experience hunting. I've had, even for my age, a lot of experience with it, and my old man helped us too. So I thought we could offer some guys some advice on their properties and whatnot. So we started doing that, and we started doing a few of these consultations, and it seemed like not everybody, but most of them had very similar questions, or they wanted to know about very similar things, and it felt like they were all getting very similar information that wasn't necessarily the best information. So, we got to talking. I was like, why don't we just start a podcast to get some of this information out there that would be better for them, give another avenue of good, solid information for hunters to go to and actually get some stuff that's going to help them have a little more nuanced look at stuff, as opposed to, some guys are, hey, you got to do it this way, or you're doing it the wrong way, that kind of thing. So that's why we started the podcast in the first place. And at the beginning of it, we were taking articles out of North American Whitetail. So we're using that for a little bit of credibility, if nothing else, to kind of go through their articles. And then we would add kind of our own commentary to it, right?
Yeah.
And we did an article from Steve Shirk, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's out in Pennsylvania. He's a writer for North American Whitetail. But we did one of his articles, and I tagged him on Instagram. He reached out to us, said, hey, he listened to the episode. He thought it was great. So I reached back out to him, said, thanks for listening. Would you be interested in coming on a show sometime? And he did. So he was our first guest that we ever had on, somewhere around episode 20 to 25. And then from there, we just kind of started doing more guests more regularly.
Yeah.
And it kind of morphed into more of that. Like, hey, let's bring guys on. And it started to change into what it is today, which is more of we'll have a guest on and we'll kind of talk about what we did for the first like 10 minutes of this episode. And we'll really dive into who they are and their background.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, because there's a lot of places, at least for the first time when the guest comes on, that's what we'll do. Because there's a lot of places people can go and talk to, let's say, Jared Mills, or they can listen to him talk about a lot of different hunting strategies, right?
Yep.
But there's not a ton of places you can go listen to him talk about his background and how he got into hunting and how he got into the position he's in within the industry or whatever.
Yeah, it's more personable.
So, yeah, now we're kind of doing that. And obviously the conversation revolves around hunting, and we get into that kind of stuff too, but it's more about the guest than it is the hunting. Now, when we have them back on as return guests, that's when we might get into a little bit more of the weeds on the strategy or topic for sure.
Yeah.
But when we started going that route with the guests, then I thought I do still want to keep some of what we started this for. So I started doing a Friday episode. We call them Full Draw Fridays, to where we do that is solely for tips, tactics, strategies, and stuff like that. That from deer hunting to turkey hunting to property management, food plots, you name it, habitat. Yeah. That's where we do that. And it's like a, usually 20 to 45-minute episode. A lot of times we hit right around 30. We've actually got a guy who does a lot of the same stuff we do out in Kansas. Austin Stone's his name, from Tactical Approach Outdoors. He's helping me co-host that now. We had him on the podcast so many times. I was like, man, you should just be a co-host. And then eventually he did become a co-host of Full Draw Friday. So we're doing that now on Fridays, and we're rolling close to 200 episodes on the regular ones. And then I think we just did episode 80 something of Full Draw Friday. So
nice.
Overall getting close to 300 episodes for everything. We started the podcast there in 21, and you asked if we kind of all hunted together. Me and obviously me and my dad he helps me on the podcast occasionally. He'll get on here. And another guy that we both have hunted with forever. And then there's another guy that's a few years older than me in school, but I'd known forever. We never really hunted much together, but we had mutual hunting buddies, I guess. But we were going to church together, and I knew he was pretty into the outdoor world. He liked hunting a lot. He'd been on some shows in the past, and I asked him if he wanted to start a podcast. That's Nate. So he came on with me in 2021. And then we brought on his buddy Blake in, I think, 2022, and they've hunted together basically forever. And then after that, we kind of parlayed the podcast into YouTube. Obviously, if you're going to have podcasts, you're putting it on YouTube. So I want to do some video content. And I told Nate, I was like, I don't know that I ever want to do like a full out hunting show, because it seems like a lot of work. But why don't we start doing these vlogs like during the season? We don't even have to worry about getting shots on camera or nothing. Just, hey, we're out here hunting. This is where we're at. This is why we're here. And this is what we're doing. So we started doing that. I believe that was in 2022. And then after that, some of the videos did okay. And I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's just try to do a show. I've always wanted to do it, like I said earlier. So we got the equipment and everything. And then we brought on another guy named Dusty, who's just got a resume of killing big deer consistently year after year. He's a guy I've known forever too. My dad used to hunt with his dad back in the day, so that was an easy guy to bring on. And he helped us with the first season of Fall Pursuit, which was our show that came out in the fall of 2023. That was on YouTube. From that, we started our Spring Strutting series, which is turkey hunting we do in the spring of 24. And then sometime in the summer of 24, we got picked up by Carbon TV. So both of those seasons were put on there. And then season 2 of Fall Pursuit just aired this last fall, and Spring Strutting, we just finished it up season 2 in May. And both of them are on Carbon TV as well. And that kind of brings you up to date on our content story, I guess.
That's awesome.
It's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good jump into things, really. I mean, kind of how we do our show here a little bit in a way, and it seems like watching a lot of these podcasts for outdoor type shows like these now, they kind of seem to have a common denominator of that such, you know.
Right.
We have a special that we do
Wrestling.
every deer season called Whitetail Weekly, and that's our new sound guy, Caleb Kearns. He does that along with Luke Humphreys. So them two, you know, they'll go out in the field and they'll do some tips or tricks or putting up a tree stand or mock scrapes or, you know, anything like that, just different tips and tricks, and they'll do that from the field, and then we'll put that into an episode. And then we've done some OnX things. We're sponsored by OnX Maps, so Trout Routes is one of our partners through OnX Maps. And so we've done some of those things, trying to, you know, navigate people through the app and how to, you know, do pins and, you know, marker points and stuff like that, and just how to actually, you know, scout from the house, basically.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. That's worth a lot.
It is. It really is. That app is amazing.
Oh yeah, no doubt. We actually talked a little bit about that on our last Full Draw Friday episode. We got into.
And you know how everybody out there is like, oh, he's just saying that because they're sponsored by him. I wouldn't be sponsored by him if I didn't use it.
Yeah.
It's kind of always been my too.
You know, I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
going to use a product or get a sponsor from a product that I'm not going to use. So if we talk about one of our partners, we use them, we use their services, things like that. It's not just something that, you know, they pay us an ad to be on the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've used all of them, and I think that Hunt Stand or OnX is the best. You know, I've had Hunt Stand. I enjoyed it, but I don't think it's as intricate as like the OnX.
Yeah, OnX
Yep.
is. I mean, you could actually. It's like some of the programming, and it has the same kind of technology as some of the survey equipment that you know, engineering firms use. I mean, it's pretty in depth.
Oh yeah. I actually use it a lot on our management stuff and consulting stuff, as
Yeah.
much, maybe more than I do for my own hunting purposes, like just mapping stuff out, measuring stuff, things like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sure.
It's got a lot of back end integration that people don't realize how much work goes into stuff like that, programming wise.
Yeah.
I mean,
no doubt.
OnX, they actually have program engineers that do this stuff. It's not just like they contract somebody out to do it. They actually have them on staff. So it's a
Yep.
it's a big outfit.
I have a buddy that used to work for a firm that did a lot of coding, building apps, and the numbers that he spit out to that I've kind of asked him a little bit about that kind of stuff. How much does it cost to make an app and develop stuff like that? And it's unbelievable the amount of time and money that goes into that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I believe
If you're going to have a good one.
it. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So you hit on it a little bit there with your Ridge Hunter Outdoors hunting show on Carbon TV and all that. Well, if you don't care, dive into that a little bit deeper for us. Tell everybody, which, like I said, where you can watch it and the content you guys put out.
Yep. So the show, like I said, kind of came about from those vlogs we were doing, and we decided we'd do a little bit more of a traditional type of hunting show. And the show is actually called Fall Pursuit. You can find it on the Ridge Hunter Outdoors YouTube page, or if you search Fall Pursuit on Carbon TV, it's there as well. Those are the two places that we air it. And then we'll re-air, like last year, the previous year's hunts, we'll re-air them leading up into like the coming season. So this July or August, we'll start airing season 2's episodes on Facebook. That way it just gives a little bit more access for people who aren't on either of those other two platforms. But basically, it's, like I said, a little bit more of a traditional hunting show. It's kind of a little bit in the vein of like what you might see from Drury, mixed a little bit with the Midwest Whitetail, mixed maybe a little bit with the Hunting Public, where like I've taken just kind of bits and pieces of stuff I like from all those shows that I've watched in the past or like to watch, and try to put something together that's unique with our own spin on what I think works for them.
Sure.
But we do 10 to 12 episodes a year. It's a semi-live show. So we hunt Sunday to Sunday, and then those episodes come out on Tuesday night. So if you're following along through the season, you're basically seeing what happened the last week. Whether we killed something or not, we try to put out an entertaining, interesting episode and just do it pretty much through November for sure, through the second gun season a lot of times. And then After that, things do start to slow down. So we might do, let's say, like 8 weeks in a row or 9 weeks of episodes. And then the 10th episode might be just the entire late season, and it might come out sometime in January. But that's basically the Fall Pursuit show. It's been a lot of fun to do. We've learned a lot already in the first 2 years as far as filming and editing. I know on the backside of it, the editing, the first episode we put out, I think, was 15 minutes, and it took me 10 to 12 hours to edit it and put it together.
Oh yeah.
And now I've got that down considerably, so it's down to just a few hours for 15 to 30-minute episodes, which is nice, but big learning curve there. But I've enjoyed doing it. I think the guys enjoy hunting on camera and the challenge of self-filming. That guy I told you about earlier that joined us, Dusty, he's, like I said, he's killed a lot of big deer. And actually this past year, he killed his first one on camera, self-filming. It was episode 2 of season 2. And he said he hasn't been that shaken up in a long time killing a buck, just because he got it on camera and he had that extra challenge. It's kind of given him a reason to really get excited, even more excited or excited again about getting out there and hunting, because it's that added challenge. And if you want to make it even harder on yourself, which I'm not sure why you would, because a lot of times it's hard enough. But take it with you and try to get that shot on film, especially by yourself. I mean, it's tough enough with a cameraman, but you get out there and try to self-film. It's a whole nother ball game. But like I said, it's been a lot of fun. We've learned a lot from it, and we're looking forward to getting season 3 rolling here, and that season 2 will be re-airing on Facebook here, probably starting sometime in July. I'll have to figure out how many weeks in advance I need to set it to get it to run right up into October 1, but that'll be coming out soon on our Facebook.
Nice. Yeah, be sure to send us those links so we can get those posted on our page and start sharing some of your all stuff. Like you were talking about that editing. When it comes to editing, whether it's video or it's audio, if you take pride in your work and you want to bring this good content, whether it be audio or video, out to, the outdoorsman out there that's watching, it takes time. You try to speed it up as much as you can with different things like we have today. You have AI and you have different things like that you utilize, but it still takes time to get those things right. So we sure appreciate what you do, and we thank you for coming on this evening, and thank you guys for putting all that content out there for us to listen to and watch.
Absolutely. Hey, right back at you guys. I was listening to a few of your guys' episodes today, and you do a good job with it, and I always enjoy listening to well-produced, well-recorded stuff, and you guys are doing an awesome job. So you keep it up. We'll get together sometime and have you guys on our show if you want to do it too.
Okay,
yeah, for sure.
That sounds great. We sure appreciate it.
Yep.
All righty. Thank you for your time this evening. All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Be sure to go check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. And we thank you for listening and watching our live this evening. We'll have all the things that we talked about in the description when our episode airs.
Also, guys, don't forget to check out naturesvoicegamecalls.com and use podcast 15 at checkout for 15% off your entire order. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Appreciate everyone listening and watching. Y'all have a great evening. This episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Longspur Tracking and Outfitting. Longspur has 28 trackers covering 9 states: West Virginia, Ohio, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Illinois, and Iowa. Check them out for all your tracking needs on their Facebook page or visit them at www.whitetaildeertracking.com. Or contact them today at 304-439-1659. Longspur Tracking and Outfitting, www.whitetaildeertracking.com or 304-439-1659. Contact them today.